Although there are many festivals and awards all over the world for movies, only one gives out the coveted golden Oscar statue. Hundreds of ballots and votes pour in every year for the possibility of being nominated, but what happens when the Academy changes their mind? Here are 10 times Oscar nominations were revoked. Be sure to stick around to the end for a special twist on one of our movies. Number 10. The Circus. This black and white film from 1928 was the brainchild of silent film star Charlie Chaplin. Back in this time of the Oscars, there were only 12 awards given out each year, and 4 of the nominations went out to The Circus. They were Best Writer, Best Actor, Best Director for a Comedy, and Outstanding Picture. Few can argue with how talented Charlie Chaplin was to have been nominated for 1/3 of the awards. However, that doesn't mean that he ended up going home with any of them. The Academy was worried that he would sweep the Night of Dreams and decided to revoke all of his nominations together. They instead presented him with an honorary award for his achievements in writing, acting, producing, and directing.
Humor heightens our sense of survival and preserves our sanity. These are the words of Charlie Chaplin.
The choice may have been made in the spirit of the night, but it still doesn't quite seem fair to us. Number 9. Hondo. John Wayne was heralded as one of the greatest actors of his generation, and not many can hold up against his classic run of spaghetti westerns. In 1954, his movie Hondo was nominated for Best Motion Picture Story and thought to for sure be a frontrunner. However, shortly after the nomination announcements, the Academy made a statement that they would be removing Hondo from the ballot. The reason? They had discovered that the writer of the film, Louis L'Amour, had based Hondo's screenplay on the short story The Gift of Cochise. Because of this, it was not considered an original piece and therefore could not be up for an award.
A fine business, the whole territory.
Some cowboys just can't catch a break. Number 8. High Society. Moving right along in the golden age of cinema, the next movie on our list is 1956's High Society. This was supposed to be the last big movie of film star Grace Kelly and sent her off with an Oscar-winning performance alongside Bing Crosby. However, a little snafu behind the scenes caused their nomination to be taken away. The two writers Elwood Ullman and Edward Burns received word that they were up for Best Story in 1956, but there was only one little problem. They didn't write it. Burns and Ullman wrote a different movie that had the exact same title 1 year prior. This mistake caused enough confusion for the Academy to accidentally give the nomination to the wrong set of writers. They later admitted their mistake and made the writers sadly erase their names from the list. Number 7. The Godfather. One of the most widely quotable and awarded movies is Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather. This 1972 classic was up for 9 Academy Awards, including Best Original Dramatic Score.
Firstly, I'd like to thank Peter Bart, who was responsible for getting me this job.
But complications came up when the awards committee learned that Nino Rota's score was not completely original. The composer had used pieces of a previous score in his Italian comedy Fortunella from 14 years earlier. This unfortunately meant the work was not to be classified as original and the nomination had to be revoked. This story isn't all bad though, because Nino Rota ended up winning Best Original Dramatic Score 2 years later in The Godfather Part 2.
The winners are Nino Rota and Carmine Coppola.
I guess he just made them an offer they couldn't refuse. Number 6. Tuba Atlantic. A lesser-known title on our list, Tuba Atlantic, is a foreign short film that takes place in Norway. It follows a 70-year-old man who finds out he only has 6 days to live, so he spends his remaining hours with friends and reconciling with old family members. The 25-minute tearjerker was up for Best Live-Action Short Film in 2012, but had to be taken out of the running when people found out that it had aired on local television in Norway. Unfortunately, this little broadcasting disqualified it from being able to be nominated altogether. Number 5. A Place in the World. This 1992 drama follows a small Argentinian family trying to stop a dam from being built that will completely disrupt their way of life. After receiving critical acclaim, it was given the nomination for Best Foreign Language Film when it was submitted by Uruguay. Confused as to why Uruguay would submit a film completely based in Argentina? The Academy was as well, until they dug a little bit deeper. It turns out that director Adolfo Aristarain had asked Uruguay to submit the film on his behalf, thinking that it might get a little more recognition because it was a smaller country. But after researching the budgeting from both countries, only a small amount of financial contribution came from Uruguay. The Academy found this behavior to be considered extremely deceptive and revoked the nomination entirely. Number 4. Young Americans. The documentary Young Americans follows a slightly different path than other mentions on this list. The story is about a small-town choir that tours across the country. In 1969, it was nominated and actually won the Academy Award for Best Documentary. But shortly after the ceremony, a problem with the timing popped up. Apparently, the movie had already been screened at a movie theater in 1967. Because of this, it was ineligible to win anything for the awards show 2 years later. This marked the first time in history for an Oscar to be given out at the ceremony and then later taken away. Number 3. Alone Yet Not Alone. This Christian-centric movie from 2014 received an Academy Award nomination for Best Original Song. However, only 2 weeks after the announcement, the nomination was disqualified altogether.
Do not cry for me. Oh, I do not.
The song's composer, Bruce Broughton, was a member of the executive committee for the music branch of the Academy Awards. When voting on the nominations began, Broughton emailed 239 other members of the committee in a grassroots movement to try and give his song some extra attention. Think that this might give him a bit of a head start against the competition? The Academy did too. President Cheryl Boone Isaacs was quoted saying, "No matter how well-intentioned his communication, using one's position as a former governor and current executive committee member to personally promote one's own Oscar submission creates the appearance of an unfair advantage." Broughton was devastated by the decision. Number 2. 13 Hours. Keeping right along with unfair advantages comes the second-to-last movie on our list, 13 Hours. John Krasinski leaves behind his Jim Halpert ways to star in this Benghazi action flick directed by Michael Bay. In 2017, it was nominated for Best Achievement in Sound Mixing for 4 standout members of the crew. One of those members was veteran sound engineer Greg P. Russell. Everything was going along smoothly until one night before the award ceremony when the Academy learned that Russell had gotten his nomination through phone lobbying. His name was immediately removed from the nominations list, with an official statement from the Academy saying, "The decision was prompted by the discovery that Russell had called his fellow members of the sound branch during the nominations phase to make them aware of his work on the film, in direct violation of a campaign regulation that prohibits telephone lobbying." An additional nominee for 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi, will not be named in his place. And the last movie on our top 10 comes with a little twist. Number 1. La La Land. While this wasn't technically a movie that had its nomination revoked for any kind of misconduct, we thought it deserved to be on here anyway. The same year as the 13 Hours incident also held possibly the biggest Oscar mishap of all time. 9 movies were nominated for Best Picture this year, with 2 of them being La La Land and Moonlight. When the presenters come forward to announce the awards, they are given a sealed envelope that tells them the winner of that category for them to read from. They do not know who the winners are beforehand. But in 2017, when it came time to announce Best Picture, the wrong envelope was accidentally given to presenters Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway. Someone backstage had mixed them up in the dark and handed the two the letter for a previous award. When it came time to open it, the envelope was supposed to say Moonlight and be listed with all the producers, but instead it only read Emma Stone, La La Land. Not knowing what to do, they just read the movie title on the card. La La Land producers made their way up to the stage and began making their best speeches until a member backstage came running out to inform them of the mishap. Upon hearing the troubling news, producer Justin Horowitz took to the microphone to inform the audience what had just happened.
This is not a joke. Moonlight has won Best Picture. Moonlight, Best Picture.
He invited the cast of Moonlight to come on stage and even insisted on handing over the Oscar himself. Talk about losing graciously. How do you think we did? Do you agree with all the nominations that were revoked? Be sure to leave a comment about it below. To see one of our most recent videos, click here. We're posting new content all the time, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any more movie secrets.